Welcome to episode 8 in the Slingshot series. I'm Nithya Karia, your microdosing happiness coach, here to help you break down the barriers to happiness so you can feel good every single day. Today, I'm talking about how to break a negative thought cycle. So first, let's take a closer look at this cycle to see why we'd spend any energy changing those thoughts in the first place. Negative or low vibe thoughts make us feel stressed, overwhelmed, worried, and the like. This gets us into a fear-based state. And then we make decisions from this place. And those decisions aren't likely to be the same ones we'd make if we felt confident, creative, and excited. It's why letting ourselves feel good doesn't just, feel good. It also sets us up to create our best possible life. That doesn't mean we don't get to feel bad or any of those other low vibe things. It means we get to notice when we're feeling them and move ourselves to a higher vibe state as our first course of action before we go on to make other choices that will determine our reality. Do you ever wonder why it's so hard to shake those negative thoughts anyway? Well, we all share this sort of common origin story of learned deprivation. It's the school of thought that feeds off of our natural tendencies to ruminate and stress as a survival mechanism. It's part of us, but it's also nurtured by our family, culture, and society. We see it practiced around us and learn to communicate with each other through this common language of lack. Comparison, judgment, guilt, regret, focusing on what's not in our life. Living relative to others as a way to focus on lack. These are all ways we live and communicate through the lens of deprivation. And thanks to learned deprivation, we actually block ourselves from receiving from our life. It might be receiving an alternate outlook, or just this feeling of acceptance. This idea that it's okay if I'm not perfect, my kids and partner aren't perfect, it's okay if my life doesn't look like a magazine cover. And sometimes it's those bigger feelings we block ourselves from, emotions like joy, peace, or fulfillment. Here's something I see a lot. It's our tendency to slip into this negativity zone when things don't go our way. Rather than question the thoughts that pop into our head, we believe them. These global thoughts, the ones that take a single incident and apply them to our whole life, are like a weight that starts to sink us into a low place. For example, if I gave a talk and it didn't go well, my mind might quickly just say, I'm not a good speaker. I don't have the same charisma as other great speakers. People just aren't attracted to me, and so on. Right? I took one event and applied the outcome to my whole personality or my whole life. The funny thing is we're not so quick to do this for the positive things in our life. Those we pass off as flukes, luck, one-offs. But it's somehow so much easier to believe that the not-so-great stuff is our normal. This line of thinking can often lead to that bad habit of believing that we predict the future, telling ourselves we just know something is going to happen, or simply just not believing that people or situations can change. I noticed this the other night when I woke up at 1 a.m. and was bombarded with negative thoughts. I saw everything as a problem, including the fact that I was awake despite having to present in a few hours. I looked over to see one child was next to me taking up half the bed. The other, I realized, had gone to bed way past bedtime. My mind made the assumption that things couldn't possibly go smoothly that day. I was predicting the future, and a not so great one at that. Plus, I just found myself kind of angry and wanting to find fault in everyone and everything around me. Without proactive happiness, we stay there. That's the end of the story. The bad day, the failed partner, the kids that don't listen, none of it feels good. And thanks to our confirmation bias, that's what we'll keep noticing if we don't do something about it. That's where proactive happiness comes in. I get to be the solution, to offer myself a better alternative. Remember that fear and faith are both the belief in something that hasn't happened yet. So choosing thoughts that feel supportive and helpful are as possible as the more negative ones I create. Now, because I've been practicing my high vibe habits for so long, I could identify the unproductive thoughts for what they were. I could feel the discomfort in my body. I could sense the tension rising within me. So I stopped. I chose to flex a different set of mental muscles: clarity, curiosity, and control. I saw I was in a downward spiral and intentionally chose the opposite. I told myself the next day was going to be fine. I could get my daughter off to camp, hang out with my son, and give a killer presentation, despite things not going as smoothly as I wanted. I reminded myself that if I could stay in a high vibe zone, I could lead my day better. And with that, I went to bed, peacefully. That's what gets to happen with small, consistent steps toward proactive happiness. I allow myself to accept that more is possible. It's not a false or a fake feeling that I'm creating. I don't need to believe it's some sort of guarantee. It can be enough to know that an alternative to the negative future also exists. So this week's practice is really around awareness. Notice when you don't feel good. It's that first baby step along the road to proactive happiness. It's practicing that first high vibe habit of clarity. And it's not the whole solution, but it is a first step. If you're looking to bring the whole process into your world, you can take the next step and book a lifestyle audit with me. We'll get things mapped out, clearly understanding where you are, what you want, and how to get there. You can grab a time with me in the form below. Well, that's all for this episode. Until next week, sending all my love and gratitude.